Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to your Monday morning edition of Second Breakfast. I hope you guys are all having a great day out there in TV land. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Ours was busy as always. Had a lot of fun on Saturday night with Omen and the usual cast of sci-fi guys, uh, going through the ins and outs of Mutant Crawl Classic, getting ready for Omen's Funnel next week. Let's see what we got going on here. I noticed my timer did not come on, and I guess that's a weird thing because I scheduled it for 9 a.m. avocado time, but every once in a while, Restream doesn't want to do what I tell it to do. So hopefully, we'll get some people come in here and help me out here so I'm not just talking to myself. But in case that's the situation, I am ready. This needs to go back where it came from. Getting ready for the craft challenge, which is due, I guess, Wednesday. I think today is the 4th or the 5th, Wednesday or Thursday. So your speed stick speeders need to be uh, finished and photographed and sent over to my Discord by the end of the 7th, midnight on the 7th. And then I will be handing out one of the Arduin card sets for the lucky winner on that end. Otherwise, I'm just, I wanted to paint this morning, but it's so blinking hot that the drop of paint that I put in my palette started drying up so fast that I'm going to be just I'm just going to be working on some bases. I finally got these Reaper mini bases that I like the most. The sort of round with the recess. I have crap tons of other miniature bases, but just not a big fan of those. I did get some of these small 20 mil bases for the smaller things like these little familiars. I didn't want to put them on a full base, and I didn't want to multi base them. So I'm using those. Those are kind of done. I do need to hit them with a wash and a little dry brushing on them. But I am going to be just basically basing some of these minis and hitting them up with some sand and then maybe a couple of tufts here and there. Not too many. I don't want to kind of overdo it. I've got plenty of them, but these, if you know what a tuft is, it's these little guys here. These stickers that just look like basic. We have some of those exact sort of plants in our yard. They're these. They look like really thick grass, but they're in a clump, and I've got various colors of those. But I'm trying to use up that little set there because it was a. I got them with some sort of terrain kit from Army Painter, and I want to use those up because they don't really have a home. The rest of them have these little hard plastic. I'll show you. The regular ones come in these, and they're better protected and that sort of thing. And I want to use up these that don't have a home, and then they work. They're greenish. I can always hit them up also with a wash to make them look a little greener or browner or grayer as the case may be. But it is literally just too hot to try and paint up here right now. The sun is like at the 9 o'clock position, right there, coming in, just killing my eyes and my paint. It literally, the paint I put in the palette, uh, not even not even 5 minutes ago, is completely dry. So I won't be doing any painting this morning. That's okay because I do have a bunch of miniatures. Like I got some of these square bases that came with some of the Reaper minis, or the other minis didn't come with bases at all, and I just don't like them. I did use one for Dorothy here, but I did that to sort of differentiate her from the rest of the group, give her her own little base along with Toto. I hope I got him right. I painted him gray. I can't for the life of me remember what color he was, but I did a video Friday about thieves, and not a lot of people jumped in on that one, which is surprising. But when I was thinking about it, it's like thieves are kind of the kind of the stepchild of the whole, the four food groups. It seems to me not a lot of people really get into playing them for whatever reason. They're just kind of like a side character. But I think even one of the new D&D movies, or maybe he was a bard. I don't know. I thought I heard somewhere that the leader of the group is actually a thief. And thinking about it, in many of the Conan stories, and in many of, well, all of the Grey Mouser and Fafhrd stories, Cuggle the Clever, and several other stories. I think Gord might have even been a thief as well. Some of the big guys who have their own books were, in fact, basically rogues and scoundrels, thieves, whatever you want to call it. That Cher song, Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, keeps running through my head for some weird reason. And to me, it seems like a shame that they just don't get the love or playtime that they really do deserve. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that because they're the closest to your everyday hero. Sure, the fighter is close, but the fighter always has that plot armor in addition to his regular armor because he's the big fighter. He's got to do the things, but heck, even good old Bilbo was a burglar of sorts. I don't know what you meant as a class edge lord, but welcome to the show. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Had a good weekend. I really did. Didn't get as much done as I thought I was going to. Wait for your additional response to that comment because it seems like half of a sentence. And in the real world, I've done some things. Not going to brag or anything, but I have some experience with opening doors and doing things you're not supposed to do, or at least things that certain people don't want you to do. And that's always struck me as in the neighborhood of the traditional thief character class. And so they've always had a bit of a soft spot in my wretched little heart. uh, Need to file this down a little more. And yeah, I notice in a lot of the parties I've been in over the last couple of years, they're really my previous comment that thieves as a class aren't good. Uh, you got a shot load of rain. Okay, I disagree, Edgelord. The the literary world is full of characters who are, for lack of a better word, thieves. Their goal in life is to take stuff that's not theirs and make it theirs, whether it's part of the job for somebody else or whether they want the thing of their own. Look at how many different Conan stories started out with either Conan or some other thief breaking into a place and then getting their just desserts, of course, perishing, and then you know Conan comes and does the job right, or Conan just does the job. Yes, I totally understand that anybody and everybody can be classified as a thief. If you steal something one time, you are a thief, and that will follow you the rest of your days. A wizard, a priest, they could all be accused of taking something that's not theirs, and now they're branded a thief. But to do it as your vocation in life, as your chosen profession. I love a good debate. Yes, the literature with thieves is top notch, but I'm not a fan of the class. Well, that's not a bad thing. That actually shows that you probably have you do not hold them in high esteem, and I don't. But let's look at you know throughout the modern world, there are professional door openers, pilferers, purloiners, uh, uh, spies and assassins and things that literally work for our own government, whose job is to go into places and get things and bring them back for their king and country. And we would not be able to survive to the point we have if it were not for, nameless great individuals whose job and skill set were based on those things. Now, maybe the traditional selfish individual who's in it for nothing but themselves and trying to steal whatever isn't nailed down isn't the ideal usage of those skills or even a class in a conducive party. But I'm running this game coming up where the king has assembled a group of young men and women that he can trust to do things that he can't trust his courtiers and other sycophants to do without having their own agendas and without working for somebody else or you know misinterpreting his desires. I don't think the XP threshold being low makes up for the abilities everyone else will get. Uh, Kuchi, how's it going? Again, I totally disagree. Uh, when the thief can actually start reading magic user scrolls, you suddenly have a split class character that can do some amazing things. Imagine a thief with a scroll with an invisibility spell, a levitate spell, two knock spells, a fly spell, a teleport spell, and let's say what is that spell? There's a spell in the book, I forget, in AD&D that makes you immune to first, second, and I think third level spells. Said thief reads off uh, the let's go with the invisibility spell. Sneaks into a place, casts the levitate spell, levitates up to the tower window where the treasure is held, casts an invisibility spell, a knock spell to get in through the window, gets into the room invisible, casts another knock spell, grabs the item because it's from the chest or the vault or what have you, grabs the item and anything else he can, you know, grab. Maybe somewhere along the line, casting the spell immunity spell just in case there's traps afoot. Uh, Gets the thing, hits the window, flies or teleports home. Boom, an hour they have just pilfered whatever. Right? It's huge. I mean, mind you, getting to 10th level is pretty rough. But think about where the party would be and what the game would be without the traps and the man or woman to disarm those traps. It's huge. It's a big point. I mean, you miss out on all those Indiana Jones, moving the idol, running away from the rolling ball, all those good, great tropes. You're just you have no justification for putting them in because they're just gotchas and potentially just kill. Okay, you get a save. Nope, you're dead. The thief is your stopgap, your solution to many of those problems. He can come in, disarm the trap. Okay, it's good. The hallway's safe. Let's go. Um, Disarm the pit trap. Disarm the lock. Poison needle. Just open the lock. I mean, what would you do in a dungeon campaign where there's no thief? You're going to bash open every treasure chest with a hammer and chisel. Um, that's going to alert every monster in the vicinity coming to go see what's causing all that racket. And what I find really funny sometimes is with wandering monsters is that should just create a cascade effect where you make noise, you attract a wandering monster. Now you're fighting the wandering monster, and let's just say it's a bunch of orcs, right? Well, your sword's hitting their armor and their shields, and vice versa. That's even more racket, which is going to alert everything else. Which you kill the orcs, and now the hobgoblins come in. Well, now the hobgoblins and you fighting is going to attract the attention of other people, and at a certain point, the entire dungeon is all at the door to the room you're in where you started the racket, and you just got to fight your way out. And lo and behold, once you do that, if you do that, mind you, the rest of the dungeon's empty because everybody's come to see what's the noise, and you killed everything, and now you can just walk through the dungeon. But on the other hand, if the thief comes in, yes, I have Coochie. I believe I have. If I did, though, I don't know that I was in it because I think Bloodworth ran us through it, and I kind of, you know, tried to not know that information. Um, but if the thief unlocks the lock, you get the treasure. Nobody gets killed by the poison needle trap or the falling block or whatever, right? You got the stuff in the chest. And you go to the next room and listens at the door. Says, "Oh, hey, I think I hear hobgoblins." Maybe you knock on the door just enough to get them to hear. Hey, someone's at the door. What's going on with that? They open the door. You skewer the first one, run in, close the door, make sure you finish them off quickly, and you can go room by room instead of all the monsters then suddenly at the other door because you made all the racket. Now they're working together to get you because they're discussing how they're going to carve you up, eat you, and divvy up your spoils, which is something that should really, really happen a lot. The moving silently to scout ahead, the listening at doors to find out maybe what's behind the door, get an idea, what to do before you go in there. My late friend went berserk on a villager in that module, and it derailed fast. We still talk about it to this day. Even at his funeral, we were laughing about it. It's good to have those stories to remember our fallen friends by. I'm happy for you guys. I hope he's up there watching and laughing and regretting his mistakes, but at the same time reveling in the next life and all that. But my point, the thief is it's all about skill. They have a skill. Sure, the fighter has skill, but in most games, you just roll to hit. You may say like I do, I stab him in the face, or in his ugly head, or whatever my catchphrase is. I forget. I'll remember by Tuesday. But the fighter, you rarely, parry, dodge, riposte. You never do any of that stuff. If you say you do, I've never seen it. Okay, it's I swing, or maybe I make a called shot to the head. Okay, there's very, very little skill in that. But when the DM tells you that you and describes the door, and that there's a small lever here and a small lever there, or any of the other ways the GM might describe the door or the trap, and you can try to disarm the trap without actually having to roll. That takes an imaginative skill that you don't really get to use with a lot of the other characters. It's really all about skill and trying to use it uh, in a way that the other characters don't have to worry about. They don't do it. They don't get to do it. They don't think about doing it. Um, and for me, I love it. Like I said, having opened a few doors in my lifetime and done a few other things and done some sneaking. Um, you don't have to be an elf to be able to get away with some crazy things. I've told the story where we were playing a game of paint guns out in the woods, and because of my garb and my luck, I'm not going to say skill, but I'm just going to chalk it up to luck. I had two mothers and their two children taking their boys to go take a leak, and they damn near pissed on my feet because they didn't see me this. I kid you not, guys. They were this far away from me. I was like this, ninja garbed up with my pistol in one hand. It was like, holy crap, they don't see me. It was freaking awesome. I was so invisible somehow that they almost peed on my feet. Okay. Um, no magic items. Yeah, I was dressed all in black and I had a black bandana and a black beanie on, and you know, but at some point they should have seen my freaking eyes just like and just like, one of them could have literally had a heart attack, and thank God they didn't. But I mean, think about that. Think if you were, you're taking your boys out to, write their name in the snow, and you look up and there's a dude with a gun. I mean, I mean, they knew we were all out there paint gunning, and they probably would be like, "Oh, Shadow, should have known it was you," because I dressed all in black. Everybody else was in their camis, and I'm like, "You guys don't know how to play a night game, do you?" Uh, and it was fun, and it was, I'm sure there's some skill in there. Coochie, my Friday group is going to start. I'm going to assist to the DM. She's fairly new. It's her first time, and I would be an eighth level player at her table. So I told her I would help her out if she needed. That's cool. We've got to do our best to keep the hobby alive and mentoring folks who want to be GMs. Because Lord knows, I'm in a couple of games with some newer GMs, and just getting a break, just watching them, as a player, keeping my mouth shut, not criticizing or anything, and encouraging them is very cathartic and very uplifting for me to watch people try, make a few mistakes, stumble, but then at the end of the night, everybody's like, good game, and then everybody shows up again, even though we know these GMs are new, but we come back because we want to, maybe take a break from being a GM. Maybe, kind of remember what it was like to be in a game back in the day. Uh, so good on you. In fact, to go full circle, he was playing a thief, and the argument was about the cost of thieves pick replacement. What's Cal going on about? How's it going, Cal? He needs the skilled thief to do what he can with keeping it a secret. Okay, I'm certain spell immunity. No, no, it's like minor globe of invulnerability. I think it is not. It's not the big one. It's like the lower one. I think it's like a fourth level spell that makes you immune to first, second, and third level spells. And I've used that. That spell is so powerful. Magic missile, uh, melts acid arrow. I guess let's go for the second level spell. Lightning bolt and fireball. Pfft, no effect, bitch. What are you gonna do? Magic missile, no effect. So powerful, right? I mean, that people think, oh, man, this is magic missile. Yeah. Well, last night the 11th level magic user wizard character in Cal's party was ripping off, I think it's 5 or 7 magic missiles at some wraiths or Nazguls or whatever the hell they were. They just hit. They just do damage. It adds up, and also prevents them from maybe casting their own spell. Uh, you know what, Shadow? I haven't played one in a long time. Now I think I will play one next time. Edgelord, they're so fun. You get to do so much, and it's so challenging because you've got the list of skills, right? And if you do your secondary skills and your non-weapon proficiencies or whatever you use besides your other skills, you can really tailor make it so that your thief character can custom like build up his specialty. Maybe because he's an elf, it's the sneaking stuff, or maybe because he's a dwarf, it's like the locksmith and stuff, or maybe because he's an illusionist gnome thief, he's gonna just be the trickster. You're never gonna see him coming. He's gonna be the master pickpocket because while you're looking at the illusion over there, he's behind you going, thanks for the wallet or the coin pouch or whatever. There's so much fun, and when the day is done, when the session is over and you did well because of, yes, your die rolls, maybe you got lucky, but if you edge your bet, you can get some bonuses out of there, and play that game with Lady Luck, and sometimes you're going to lose. More often than not, you are in the beginning, but when you do start to win, and you do start to like break that 50% mark, and you've got a better than 50-50 chance to do whatever it is, it's all on you, bro. You did it. It was your idea. It was your scheme. It was your master plan that allowed you guys to walk away with the big fat haul of whatever it was. Sure, you had the fighters to take care of your heavy lifting, and you had the magic users to counter that sort of stuff, uh, and your priests to patch you up and to protect you and to guide you, and to constantly tell you shouldn't be doing this. You need that guy because sometimes that guy He knows more than you do, and he was right, and you were wrong. And who's binding your wounds? Who's curing you? Who's removing the poison, curing the disease from the mummy rot? When they told you don't open the sarcophagus, it's not going to end well. Let him rest. Nope. But you're looking at that big old freaking tiara that you're going to sell back in town. You know you're going to be living high on the hog for the next couple of weeks until you piss it all away. Got to come up with another scam. That's what the orichalcum golem is for. Maybe. Uh, but for me, it's one of my favorites. I love them. And now, if I get the opportunity to play a magic user thief, a wizard thief, an elf or half elf, then I don't have to worry about that scroll I mentioned. I'll just get those spells, get them into my book, and I'll be planning heists your world has never seen before. Don't dare tell me I see a big fat ruby or an emerald or a diamond, the size of a goose egg. That's gonna be mine until I sell it, at 50 to 60% of its value. But what do I care? I can say I did it. I could walk away with a big fat sack of gold. I can buy a round of drinks at the place. I can get the crisp cut fries from Carl's Jr. and whatever else I want on the menu. You guys remember that reference? Probably don't, but I always thought that was hysterical because I know exactly what that was like to not be able to go into that restaurant and not be able to afford the crisp cut fries and just like one day, man, one day it won't be just the regular fries; it'll be the crisp cut fries, right? Um, and when that day comes, hopefully I can. Well, I could say I earned it, and you guys can as well. And your poor thief character will be like, "Yeah, I've arrived. I've done the things, and now I can start leading this party to do my bidding to help me, you know, help everybody else out. But, my schemes, my plans, my plots, my desires can be fulfilled. And I got this big old group of buddies and a couple of burly fighters, you know, have my back. I got a wizard, you know, do some of the things I can't do, and help, with some of the combat and the other things that wizards are great at. And then we got our spiritual advisor trying to reform us and keep us on the straight and narrow. But when we fall, he's there to help us out. And who knows? Maybe along the way, we are defeating some evil, killing some orcs, some goblins, things like that, making the world a better place. But at the same time, filling my coffers with my retirement fund. Love it. Just absolutely love thieves. They're so underappreciated, but so much fun. I mean, if you've ever run the the jerk face in the party, as Jen would put it, um, if you've never done that, every group's got one. Hopefully, your group won't already have one, and you could be that guy. Maybe you can check with the party. It's like, hey, I want to run the dickhead. Okay, no, nothing on you guys. It's all It's the character. It's not me. I never done it, or I'm in the mood to be the wise ass. Always with the quip. Always with the shitty comment or the dour outlook. I want to play that guy. Can I play that guy? You mind? Okay, cool. I'm doing that. In Bloodworth's game for running on a couple of years straight, that's all I've been doing, and he knows it, and he has no problem with it. As a matter of fact, this time around, he found one that I had never seen before, and I'm like, yeah, I'll change my plans for that, for the opportunity to try my hand at the Arcane Thief as per Castles and Crusades. Uh, it's got such an X Men feel to it. It's an individual, not necessarily a thief, not necessarily a magic user, who steals other people's magical powers and abilities. It's just whether it be by touch or just absorbing their spell. It's like, how is that even allowed? That's just so OP in my opinion. Because check this out, guys. He's a D8 hit point character, right? Kind of cool. Can't cast spells in the regular fashion. D8 hit die can wear up to bronze plate, chest plate armor, studded leather, stuff like that. I am in DM James's Discord. I just haven't said anything in a while. Uh, I usually throw a thumbs up on a meme or two, but not lately. Been kind of busy, not just, but I'm there. You can find me there, Coochie, and you want to do the friend request, not a problem at all. Um, but they can also, in addition to uh, wearing the armor, having a D8 hit die, they can touch a magical creature and swipe their hit points. Yeah, that's a thing. They can touch a magical creature or being and steal some of their magic powers temporarily. And if a spell goes off within a certain radius, I can try to absorb that spell and either cast it right back, but only at my level, or I can wait, get back home, and write it in my own scroll, and then I can cast it later. And one spell per level I can make permanent in my book. So, of course, I made Magic Missile. I was thinking about sleep, but I'm like, I can do that later. I need Magic Missile. And so every day I can just cast one Magic Missile spell. And when I get to the next one, I'll, try to get knock and then invisibility, and then teleport, and all the things I just mentioned on that list. If I can get those spells, I become a magic thief that can, break into places and steal crap. And I can use user magic items. Oh, did I tell you? I can also use swords and short bows and a bunch of other weapons. It's just like, this is way too powerful. Should have been a D6 hit die. Just saying. Um, but it's a D8 and can do all that stuff and probably some other stuff I forget at higher levels, like really high levels, but that's never going to happen. But they're pretty powerful for, CNC, at least in my opinion. Unfortunately, they don't get any of the traditional, move silently, pick locks, any of those abilities. That's fine. Um, but the other stuff definitely makes it interesting. So I do look forward to that. Finally, I had to trim this base down just so it would fit. And since it's just rubbery bones, black plastic, it's just not. It wasn't cooperating with filing it down just to make it fit in the on the base. I could have left it alone. It would stand, but I prefer these 1 inch round bases to keep them steady and keep them from falling over and taking up the whole 1 inch square on the grid. They're actually a little bigger than that, aren't they? Or maybe that um, square is off. But those are the things I've been thinking about with the thief class and with the campaign I'm running, the new one, where the party is working for the king and doing, helping him, root out this evil death cult that's rearing its ugly head in the kingdom. They're not going to be your run of the mill, um, peasants, first level, nobodies with a couple of copper pieces when they're done rolling up their characters. These are going to be uh, kind of from the upper tiers of the social stratus, and they're going to have the backing of the king. So if they say, "Hey, we need this to do that," the king's probably going to be okay with it. He needs this problem solved, and instead of everybody like running the freaking mud sword losers that shouldn't stand a snowball's chance in hell, and usually don't. In all those games that I've been in lately, the death rate is staggering, and I know if I was in a situation like that and people left and right of me are dying, I would take the first cash out and just find another job. Just say, you know what, screw this. There's just no chance, especially, when I'm running a character with the highest status like 11, um, which is another thing I not fond of. I think, some games they say right there in the beginning, you're not heroes, you're just the everyday Joe. Like, well, that's not the game I really want to play. I don't really want to be a nobody. I'm 60 years old. I was a nobody once upon a time. I played thousands of nobodies. Now I'm kind of a somebody because, you know, I got a family. I've got money in the bank. I've done things. I've had adventures of my own in the real world. Playing a nobody uh, that literally has barely a 10% chance of surviving. Why would I do that? Why would I waste my time with that? It's just, unless the group is populated by some people I like and people whose company I enjoy and who make me laugh and uh, we can share a good time, then that's where the draw is. It's not really the game itself. It's a social activity and um, so with this group I'm starting, I'm giving them not like everything they want. I see. Here's the thing: when you start a first level mud sword game, you really I need your expertise, Shadow. I'm getting the Cos book this weekend. Where should I begin? I can't. Honestly, that's something I cannot answer. Except you could try Tasmande, which is the area that is like the capital, whatever, of the continent, and where most of the lore really resides. It's the big metropolis with magic everywhere. But maybe that's not what you're into. Read the book, Cold Iron. Um, don't make me turn this into a religious sermon because that's the number one reason. I'm a Christian. I don't think that people should be throwing around freaking God's magic like that. Okay, I try to avoid that, but in the long run, Resurrect just makes it a video game where people can just spring back to life with no consequences. Even the consequences I've heard are nothing compared to roll up another character. But Edgelord, the um, the world is full of. I mean, it's 900 pages, that book. There's so many places to choose from. Read it, and some place will jump out and go, oh, I like this place, I want to run. And guess what, if you pick someplace other than Tasmania, you can do whatever you want there. uh, that's just around the corner. You can make it. you know they can get to the big city if they like, but if they don't, they can go somewhere else. But you have your own personal tastes, your own personal likes and dislikes. Maybe you're in the mood for, a certain thing, and maybe you'll come across something that scratches that itch. That I couldn't begin to imagine what you're really craving. When it comes to a new environment to set the adventure in. Just read the whole damn book. By then, or maybe you won't even need to. Maybe you'll get in like 450 pages and you found, hey, I like this. Hey, what's up, Dean? And you'll find what you're looking for, and you know, cool, right? Um, as for the game I was talking, Edgelord, my friends haven't done a city campaign in years. Yes, but if you're going to do that, couple of suggestions. Uh, Allow them to get the hell out of there whenever they need. If you're going to have druids and rangers, do not hinder them. They can still do that stuff in the city. Yeah, there may be more tracks and things like that, but the basic element of tracking, um, unless you're going to say, 10,000 people have walked over that same road, so no, they can't. Well, if you're hot on the heels of something just a few minutes ago, the chances that somebody else ran down that same alley, and running leaves different tracks than walking. And if your rangers like following somebody down an alley and in the mud and in the muck, there's tracks that are spaced the way running would do. Just don't hinder them like some GMs would, and just go, oh, you can't track them because a million people have been here. Well, have they really? Have they really gone? Have that many people really gone down that alley? And in cities, a lot of times in those kind of situations, a lot of people are barefoot. And if the person you're chasing is barefoot, once you get a view of their footprint, you'll be able to spot their footprint later on. If they're wearing a certain kind of shoe, then again, same thing. You can follow those prints through the muck and the slime. Druids, a lot of their stuff can still be used in the city. Almost every one of their spells can be done that way. Some of the other minor abilities they get at like third and seventh level, no big deal. But don't hinder them if they want to do that. I always found Rangers don't do as bad as well. They shouldn't. I I worked for the forestry department for a while, and I learned how to track. I learned how to follow animal prints, and I identify what's what: people, critters, birds, lizards, snakes, wolves, coyotes, things like that. And uh, they don't spend all uh, their time in the woods and are completely just bumpkins. I feel you, but there's a lot of spells like that: exorcism, cure blindness, disease, remove curse. Uh, right, but there's only one resurrection. Every one of those things happens, like multiple times, you know. And it's the big one. It's really the definition between winning and losing in role playing games. If you die, you lost. If you live, you're still winning, right? And also, if you quit, you lose. But if you're still playing and you're still striving and fighting, you can win. But when you die, you've lost. It's time to make up a new character. And without that, I mean, think about it. I was thinking about this the other day, Cold Iron. When I watched The Lord of the Rings, and I really thought about Sean Bean's redemption arc as Boromir. That hit me harder than just about anything else. And mind you, part of that had a lot to do with the fact, the Gandalf thing. We just lost Gandalf. Oh shit, that's when my boy was watching it for the first time. He doesn't remember it, and the wife and I were watching it, and when the music comes in and it's quiet, you can't hear their voices. Oh, dude, I've literally had that experience in the real world where I couldn't hear anything because something, just happened. I'm not going to go into it, but when you're in a stressful situation to a certain point and the whole world is blank except your thoughts, then your panic, your fear, your sorrow just overwhelms everything. um, it's amazing. And when I think about Boromir and his willing to be stapled to the tree, because that's what happened in the book, mind you. He had 20 arrows in him, not the half a dozen we saw in the movie, because if they just went thump, 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 the censors and everybody would have just went, whoa. He was stapled to that fucking tree and still breathing when Aragorn got there. And him willing to give up his life for those two little guys. He was way more important um, to the success of the mission than they were. They could have died in the first day and nothing would have changed, right? I mean, it would, but to him, he knew they were just like, you know, he knew he was valuable. He was damn near a king. He could have been king someday, but he put their little lives in front of his, and was willing to hold the line, like I said about fighters earlier, and to be the meat shield and to die. Boom, over. You take away that chance for a player character to even if it's a fuck up, even if it's a horrible loss, you had bad rolls and there goes my last hit point, I'm dead. You still deny the players of that whole experience of losing a friend. Maybe not even a friend. Maybe it's the guy you hated the most, but he died. But everybody's there like, well, I guess we got to bury him. Maybe he wasn't such a bad guy after all. If you've ever noticed how people's opinions about someone changes when the day before they were just freaking berating the shit out of them, couldn't stand, blah blah blah, but then they're gone. You deny the player characters and the players that experience of of loss and dealing with it when You just like, oh, Ray's dead. The better thing to do is to use like the death store where it's mostly dead, so you don't have to really go all the way there, or start the game off with, we're going to go to -10 for death, and a death store, will keep you up before you hit -10, so you can kind of try to get to 0 and 1. Uh, oh, sorry, I'm trying to keep up the chat. Uh, it's fine to first have some mud sword, but elevate with rewards too. Well, yeah, but I mean, Cal, I predominantly everybody I hang out with and play with, not, if you're new to the hobby, totally different advice for you guys. But how many times have you done it? I can't count how many fighters I've run, how many thieves, how many uh, assassins and monks and ninjas and all these characters. All of them started out with nothing. Every DM, had an axe to grind and something to prove that they're the killer DM. If the game's the killer, not the DM. The fact that you start out with less than a 25% chance to do anything, I mean anything. Flip a coin up, roll to see if you flipped it. What? I mean, literally everything. Uh, you've got a 25% chance to just do it. I wouldn't let my kid out the door if he only had a 25% chance to freaking make it to school by himself. You know what I mean? They've got to have, better than 50-50 odds before they get let out, unless it's a freaking big emergency. And that trope, I mean, I've literally been, you're the town's only hope 100 times. Okay. Can you come back to me when you got something a little bit more original than the same thing I've done 100 times before? Okay, you can't. Okay, well, so and so's playing and so and so's playing. I like hanging out with them. I'll give it a shot, and I've done that. But by and large, the people we play with, the people we know, have been doing this. Even if you've only been doing it 5 or 10 years, that's still a hell of a lot of time you've put into it. And I think, instead of every single time it has to be mud sword, why not try? Try, letting them run nobles, letting them run, you know, someone who's got a better, not chances, because that kind of, depending on the game, can kind of break it, because you start out with, fifth or seventh level abilities at first level. No, I'm not really advocating for that, but giving them, a leg up, or see what you can do, like uh, uh, what you can handle. I'll get back to that, but I'm going to answer Edgelord's question. What system do you think works best with Arduin until Arduin? Okay, you can't use BX because Arduin is all about any race can be different things, not just your race is your class. That, don't even get me started on that. Arduin is based on the principle that an elf is not just an elf. A hobbit is not just a hobbit. They can be things. And like AD&D, maybe they can only go so high, but at least they have choices. And Arduin lets you play just about whatever you want as a race, and then you look on the chart and go, oh, they can be this, so they can be that. They can't be this, but they can be that. Okay, it's the best system for it is probably AD&D. You can't use BX. You could use White Box if you use all the supplements, but let's be honest, nobody plays White Box. They say they do. I really got to wonder, if they're just doing it for a nostalgia thing. If that's all they've ever played, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They've missed 50 years of advancement and innovation. If you don't like AD&D, or you don't have it, and definitely not 2E, because 2E also ramps down all the cool shit that Arduin would let you do. Just yeah, no problem. You want to run a friggin' ogre? Yeah, no problem. You want to run a dragon? No problem. Troll? Yeah, no problem. But these are your limits. But it also gives you your stats, which are generous within a. Nice, Chris. And if you're not going to use that, uh, I would. Gosh, I don't know. It's really a good question, because it really is based on pretty much AD&D. Um, You could possibly use Axe or, and I really don't know. I'd have to ask Omen about that one. Maybe OSE Advanced, but again, I mean, you're going to change so much of it. Um, and I'm not certain on those either. Chris, I can't believe Valinor is dead. What a heroic tragedy. Now we welcome Valinor to the party. Yeah, that we've seen that. I've done that. It's like, okay, well, my last character, died, and it was really cool, and it was a this, and it's the party needs this because that's what they had. Now they don't have that. How many times, are you gonna, replace someone with a carbon copy of the guy that perished, um, and it doesn't feel just completely unimmersive and completely gamey. If you're okay with those things, which I know a lot of people actually are, they don't care. It's like, oh, so and so died. Pff, new character is in the party. Didn't even contrive an entrance. They just replaced him. Spawn player two or whatever. Okay. Other times, I've watched poor Omen. He waited, the better part of 4 hours to get a 2 minute intro at the end of the game, and he was totally cool about it. And cheers to Omen, great guy. Um, and then comes in the next game and just freaking starts walloping 75 points of freaking damage to my Nazgul in the first freaking round of a combat. I'm like, oh shit, I know where this is going. Owen's going to try and break my game. Well, yeah, it was really funny too because they're like, I said Nazgul. So what do you think? You think Wraith or Spectre, right? No, that's what they were thinking, and they were partially right. But I said Nazgul, which meant, oh, Cal, you caught on. It's like, oh, it's a special. It's not even in the books, guys. Don't waste your time. Just freaking keep hitting. Because it wasn't a freaking Wraith or a Spectre. It was like a Super Spectre or a Super Wraith, something better, because they're like cruising around 13th level, you know, even at 13th level, even a Wraith or a Spectre is like nothing. Yeah, if it hits them, they lose 2 levels. But one character's running around with an armor class -7, and one I think told me freaking straight to my face negative armor class -14. I'm like, okay, I can see where this is going. And you know what? It's fine. I okay, so they need to roll higher to hit you guys. That's fine. I don't care. I'm going to throw out what the world sort of has in store for them. And if they walk through it like freaking tissue paper, awesome. They earned that shit. They've been playing for, the better part of 2 or 3 years now. They earned that shit. They had to play with fucking Justin. They've earned more than I can freaking heap on them in the way of rewards. They played with that asshat for years and didn't just, nope out. And plenty of people noped out. Okay. So if they can, walk through my, group of 4 Nazgul, um, that's fine. It's there's more stuff down the road. I'll learn from that. It's like, oh, okay, well they can hit. They've got a -14 armor class in the group. Well, okay, I guess I better give them more hit dice so they can roll on the higher charts to hit. Right? That's fine. That means they got more hit points too. I mean, at a certain point, when they've taken out beholders and vampires, and they are fighting a lich, which liches should be like 12th to 25th level magic user or cleric. That's pretty tough. If they can walk through that, well, then it's time to really break out more Arduin creatures, or maybe it's time to either retire or it's time to head down the path of the gods, which I gave him a map to the throne of the gods like 2 years ago. I kid you not. Like, hey, it's here. If you want to go sit in it, it's over here. I mean, you got to do stuff to get to it, obviously. But they're like, nah, we don't care. Maybe later. And mind you, they've warranted all but performing one or two actual deific quests to do that. Some of them have worshippers and followers. Um, at least fan clubs around the world, because they've done a bunch of shit. They still have to do the big thing, the big quest to prove themselves worthy. Uh, and you know, when they're ready, I have it up here ready for them. So we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, they're having fun and kicking ass, and they earned it. Um, and like twice, one character died, and one group of characters kind of retired at about 10th level. They're like, okay, we're going to retire and go make babies, and I'm like, cool, great part of the story. One of the most realistic things to happen was these guys went, you know what, yeah, I can't do this forever, and it's only going to get harder. And I can bow out gracefully, build a nice little castle on a freaking island, and have my own freaking island. I mean, come on, guys. That's winning first class on Earth. You get to buy an island, build a castle on it, and make babies for the rest of your life. Phew, you have more than hit the lottery, right? So they did that, but then they brought in a new character and started out at could have been higher level, but because they wanted to run a barbarian, it's higher XP cost, so they're only 8th level, but they're also running around with a -14 armor class. So I, they're not going to break the game. They're not going to ruin it because they got a bunch of gimmies. It's like you could literally, guys, you could literally bring in your 20th level characters from some D&D world or whatever you've played in, and port you in. A portal opens and your freaking weirdo steps in, like, you know, speaking some foreign language. They figure out your language. They start talking to you. It's like, oh, yeah, you want to join the party? Sure. Why not? Right? It would not be a problem. It's not going to break my game. It's not going to ruin it for anybody else. Um, Cal walked in at 7th level, I think it was, right? He walked in. No, I think he was a little higher, maybe not though. He walked in at, like, let's just say 7th level. Uh, Maybe it was ninth. I don't remember. Uh, and in the middle of a dungeon, they found him, right. And first room, he clears it. Second room, clears it. Third room, I think, was it 2 or just 3 rooms? Maybe it was 2 rooms and a hallway. And there were these like really potentially challenging threats that might have taken the entire party. And he's running a freaking druid and just clears the room with a spell. Poof. Or maybe it was a magic item or whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is that he came in and they're like, yeah, we want this guy to hang out. It's not like, oh, he's stealing the show. Like, no, he just cleared freaking 2.5, 3 rooms by himself. It's fucking awesome. I mean, think about it. You meet this stranger in a deep, dark dungeon, and he had like almost nothing in the way of treasure or magic items, I think, for the most part, because he was a prisoner, chained to the wall or some shit. And they rescued him, and next thing you know, he's just like, yeah, yeah, you can join. Yeah, yeah. You want to lead the party? I mean, not quite, but because he is a druid after all, and you can't trust druids. You're fucking neutral. Next thing you know, they're going to be working for the other side just to balance shit out. Don't get me started on that retardation. And nothing could think like that and survive. The entire world would just freaking just gang up on that alignment and scour it from the planet. What do you mean you're gonna arbitrarily just freaking do some freaking evil or good shit just because you think you need to balance shit out? How do you know? How do you know what you're doing? You needed to keep doing that to keep things balanced. You don't have this cosmic awareness like, oh, well, I've done 3 good things today. I need to do 3 evil things today to balance it out. No, you were doing the balancing. You just didn't know it. But good job, Cal. Good job. You've been fucking kicking ass. I know you get annoyed from time to time, but between your crap connection and my failing memory, we're just going to have to deal with each other. Cruising up on 60 ain't for everybody. So let's see if I missed any chats here. It looks like I may have, and I am sorry, but I got on a roll. I can actually track too. See, it's not hard. I mean, I taught my boy over the course of at tops one school year of 10, 15-minute sessions on the way to and from school, while walking our bikes through the deserts. Like, okay, what kind of paw print is that? What do you think that is? What do you think that is? Okay, follow it. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? He doesn't have it at first level proficiency, but whatever. And for the record, reincarnate. There's a good chance they'll come back as a squirrel, um, and that's not good. And there's a good chance they're not even going to be anywhere near the party. You have to seek them out over time. And if they come back as a squirrel, within about a year, if you don't find them, they're going to be squirrel poop. Some coyote or alligator or some shit is going to have eaten them, and then they're on to their next reincarnation. Circle turns, circle of life, all that crap. For the little ones, gnome techno. Yeah, we got one of those in the game. They just had to rescue a gnomish tinker lady uh, because she was the one person who could figure out how to fix the floating island that's been locked on its same course for decades. Swords and Wizardry's best version of White Box. Well, White Box is the best version of White Box. First is first. Without it, you don't have anything else. And yes, it may be flawed and whatnot. But see, we've gotten so spoiled thinking that somebody else's job is to fix it. No, it's your job to fix the broken game. If the game is broken and it's not what you like, find another game that did all the work for you, you lazy bastard. Or do like we did and fix it as it needs fixing. Because for decades, it wasn't broken, or at least a decade, it wasn't broken. It was fine. There were lots of ways you can add to it, and maybe little tweaks here and there because your party didn't like, weapon speed or weapon versus armor or any of the other million complaints that they had, and they fixed them for their table. The other guy's table, it's just fine. We like it that way. We like our weapon speed and our weapon versus armor table. Thank you kindly. Get out of here with that newfangled shit. You freaking corner cutting lazy bastards. Fix it. Fix it yourself. Do your work. I was watching Joe the lawyer, kind of glaze Marvel and Wizards of the Coast. Fuck them both. Not Joe. Joe seems like a nice guy, or not a nice guy, but he seems like a decent guy. Nice is a completely different thing. I haven't needed either of those big companies since the 80s. What they've done to shit on us and to tell us they want us out of the hobby is more than enough for me to literally never forgive them again. I don't need Wizards of the Coast to play my games. I don't need other companies. I enjoy other companies, and I'll promote and use and hang out with those guys. Um, some of them for life, some of them, we'll see. But some of them never again. In case you know what I'm talking about. But it was always our job as the GM was to make up stuff, make up dungeons, make up countries, make up cities and maps and worlds and things like that. And somewhere along the lines, we've lost the way, and we just let everybody else do it for us. Yeah, let those guys make the money, get the glory, what little there is, and money, what little there is, and they get all the credit. I've made 20, 30 different worlds. Nobody ever talks about them. You don't. I don't care. Those people had great times wherever they are, and I'm going to make up. I'm making up another one. I'm supposed to be making up a second one, a Bronze Age world, but I got kind of distracted, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. Uh, you were just reading it a half hour ago. I like the latest version with the new classes. Sure. Have you ever made your own classes? Um, I've done plenty of that. I do that all the time, especially for the NPCs. Oh my god, I need a new version of a cultist that has assassin abilities and some necromancer abilities thrown in. Okay, give me a minute. I'll write that up. Uh, that's what we're supposed to be doing, not just buying the next product and regurgitating that. Less and less a fan of that. I like getting inspired, but running, one for one, keep on the Borderlands, yeah, I'll never do that again. I mean, unless somehow, for some reason, I've got grandkids and they want to play D and D and they want to go you keep on the Borderlands and they know it by name, well then yeah, maybe I'll do that. But why? I've done that like more than once. I want to do something different, completely new. That's all on me. That's the master part of the game master. Uh, FMAG is easily my favorite white box. I don't know what that is aside from the original, but I'd rather just use the single book. Yeah, what's FMAG? Because there's a whole bunch of fantastic medieval adventure game. It's S&W white box, but fixed. Yeah, I don't like races class. I mean, think about this. Okay, uh, when you do races class, according to my recollection, dwarves can't pick locks. They can't disarm traps. Only the human thief can do that. Does that really make sense to you? You've got these ancient dwarven tunnels, let's say, or mines, or some other races, ancient catacomby, dungeony, underground thing with built-in traps. Only the human thief can do it. You can't have a dwarven thief. Um, to me, that's retarded. That's literally the dwarf should have a way better chance to do all of that, growing up underground and hearing about that kind of stuff versus the 19-year-old human thief who's been pickpocketing, some backwater freaking podunk little village, trying to get away with stuff, moving to the big city and trying it there too. How the hell would they know about disarming traps? It just it the whole humans are the best. It just shows what a tiny tiny penis you have, and you can't imagine something being better than you. It's in the intro book. Charlie Mason only did it to be truer to the original. I always appreciate Finch for the work he did early on. Okay, yeah, out of nowhere, palladium alignment is better. Yes, we all know that. But in some parts of the world, that'll get you tarred and feathered. It may be partially the fact I'm older and don't have the time to spend the amount of time to game anymore, but I've started to warm up to the idea of make characters to concept right from the start. Um, I don't even like going into a game or a situation without doing that. It's like I get it, and I'm one of the most stringent adherents to if you're rolling 3d6 down the line, you get what you get. I hate it. I fucking hate it. I am not in the mood to run another fighter with an 11 strength. There's nothing. There's nothing about that excites me. There's nothing you can offer me other than like getting some higher stats and and evolving into a more heroic character. Running a nobody, uh, it just reminds me of shitty times. When I was struggling, and I've since gone past that. You know, um, and it's just like I'm just not in for this kind of masochism. I'm just why would I want that? Why would I want to run a loser with a 10% chance of survival? And if I win, what do I win? You know what I mean? What's the prize? Can you at least hint at what I could achieve other than well, you're probably going to die at third level. Yeah, I can go play a video game and get way more out of that. Warhammer fixed my AD&D problems. Okay, I've got it. I didn't like it because again, if I'm in the mood to play a cleric, let's just say because I never run them. If I'm really in the mood to run a cleric, I don't want to run a magic user. I don't want to run a druid. I want to run a cleric. You know what I mean? And the idea of being able to actually do that is far more enjoyable, or something I'm that's what I want to do. I want to run a cleric. Oh crap! My best stat is like a 9. Well, I'm definitely I want to just throw that away, but see, that's cheating. We were talking about this last night, Owen and I. If you roll straight down the line, you take what you get. You have the option of going, yeah, I don't want to be in that kind of game. But if you do, then whatever you roll is what you're playing. You play them till they die. Now you can easily, just run right headfirst into the wood chipper. Up, round one, dead character. Oh well, I have this other character I rolled up. That's not cheating; it's bending the rules. But rolling up a new character and a new character until you get the exact cool stats you want with a bunch of 16s and 17s and that one lucky 18, and we all know how rare that is. That's cheating, and I don't do that because I might as well just write down the numbers I want, and that's hardcore cheating. Sometimes, you want to do that, but don't do that because, uh, again, it's cheating, and you're not winning. Everything you succeed at is based on a lie that you wouldn't have got there if you just rolled it up and see what you get. Like the character I'm running in Blood Wars game, I think my highest stat is a 16. Not stellar, by 18 comparisons, but still, you got to understand that 9 and 10 being average, that's pretty damn good. And I'll deal with the nines and tens that I've got. Okay, fine. Low stat. Oh, my dump stat is always wisdom, because I rush into things and I want to rush into things because I don't want to sit around and freaking twiddle my thumbs while everybody tries to, uh, plot and scheme when the obvious course of action to me is obvious. You rush in, you take care of the problem, and you move on to the next problem. I'm at the point where getting to enjoy playing the character is the reward. Yes, but I mean, how many 11 and lower stat characters do you want to run and still enjoy it? Do you not crave the hey, can I run like somebody who's a badass at the start? Because like in any other genre, if I roll up a traveler character or other games except Call of Cthulhu because nobody's awesome in that game. Um, I can start with, like I can start with all sixes in Traveler, right? I rolled up nothing but sixes straight down the line. I joined the army, and after 4 or 5 terms, I come out with a character who did a tour Black Ops, did some other cool shit. Now comes out with a couple of 7, 8, 9s, maybe even a 10 in endurance or something. He's a bad motor scooter, and I want to play that character. And I just rolled him up, and that's how he comes out of the box. A whole bunch of skills, a whole bunch of talents, a whole bunch of this and that. Oh, and he's got 100,000 credits, socked away, and he walked out with a really cool whatever. That's first level. You just started the character. We're playing now. Um, Everybody's scared of you. They're running a bunch of diplomats and belters and shit like that, and you're the big, scary kind of like Jane character. You're the muscle. You're our combat monster. You do all that shit. They're scared of you. But you know, Joey over here, he's running a freaking computer programming scientist weirdo, and when you need that shit done, he's your bad motor scooter. And nobody blinks an eye at any of that. But in fantasy, if you're anything but the freaking, the nobody farm boy, you're too powerful to start at first level. Does that sound right to you? I never claimed White Box was broken or needed fixing, but I've never heard any people who like White Box OSR people say bad things about. Uh, no, I'm just saying racist class. You come at me with that, and uh, and you advocate for that over the superior option. I gotta wonder what's going on. Hey, Janet, how you doing? Sorry I missed your comment. I definitely don't like racist class. I don't like the way class is so ridiculously compartmentalized. There's skill options that have nothing to do with class specifics. You're not wrong, and a an entirely skill based system to me always runs the problem of everybody wanting certain skills, and class protection is one of the charms of fantasy role playing. You've got the wizard. If everybody can cast spells, you know, uh, then then the bad guys have to have that ability too. And pretty soon, magic takes over everything. Okay, if everybody can pick locks and open traps and all that crap, then eventually you get to the point where it's like, I don't need any of you guys because I'm 10th level and I can do kind of everything. And if I pick and choose the adventures I go on by myself, I don't need you guys. Don't want that either. I want to know that so and so is focusing on this and so is focusing on that. Yes, it is incredibly compartmentalized, but if you are going to, stick to the tropes of the Middle Ages and the medieval mentality and feudalism, that's the law. You're not allowed to do those things. There are certain places in certain parts of the world to this day, they catch you doing the wrong thing because it's, you know, above your caste, let's say. You could be looking at some serious penalties if they don't just erase you. Okay. And back then, knowledge was power. There's a reason why people couldn't read because they didn't want you to be able to read. Think about that. Okay. So being able to read, as soon as you do that, you know what happens? In a few short years, maybe 100, you're in the Renaissance. And a couple hundred years after that, if you don't stop it, you're in the Industrial Revolution. At least going by, how things happened here. Now you can arbitrarily go, not in my world, they're not doing that. Well, it's your players that are doing that, and if you're going to stop them from doing that because you don't want them to do that, you're a bad DM because it's not their game anymore, it's yours, and you're telling them what they can and can't do to change the world. That's what they're there to do. You made this pretty little world, and they come in, and their job is to wreck it, or at least to change it. That's their job, whether they know it or not. They're going to do that. And if you can't handle that, just write a book. Write your perfect fantasy novel, and the world will be great and exactly the way you want it. And there'll be no surprises, and everybody will love you and despair. Don't do that. I mean, unless that's what you really deeply want. Um, if you're going to make a world and you're going to invite people in it, don't think they're going to wipe their feet every time they come in and out. They're they're going to shit all over it. They're going to change it, and you know what? If everybody does their job properly and everybody, goes into it the right way, it will be glorious. There will come a time when the druids will be indifferent to good. It's our way after helping restore balance to the world. Then good peoples may hate us. Fucking cow. Uh, Hello again, Janet. What do you think of old AD&D 1 and 2 T1 attack matrix, THACO level advancement with fighters, best clerics, thieves, magic users at the bottom of the barrel? I think that's bullshit. Well, here's the thing. Uh, as soon as you break all of that, you're playing a completely different game. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because I'm reading a story now where the first level magic user is being taught how to use a sword, shield, armor, etc. All those things. I mean, think about it. How many XP, if you go and look in the mechanics are there. You can go look at the Cavalier from the Unearthed Arcana, and it shows you zero or negative second level, negative first level, zero level to first level kind of XP requirements. Okay, now if you can codify and figure out how many XP it takes, or you earn as being a nobody, right? It doesn't matter who you are, right? How to learn how to pick up a sword, swing it, not hurt yourself, walk around in chainmail, use a shield effectively to a certain point, and swing at the dummies and maybe spar with folks to get to first level. First level fighting ability is supposed to be something kind of above average, okay, above the kind of like a lieutenant, let's say in their armed forces back then. Today there would be nothing, but I digress. If you can figure out how many XP the character could earn or would earn by practicing and being taught, right? Then you could open up a school somewhere and anybody could learn how to fight. They wouldn't be a fighter, but they would at least, when they swing their weapon, have those numbers to hit. Or you can employ some other method, but it wouldn't take a long, long time. Think about it this way. In the modern day, we take 17 and 18-year-old kids with no training whatsoever, and in what, depending on, less than a year, right? Maybe 9 months, 6 months, whatever. We turn them into first level warriors in our armed services. And a kid out of boot probably kicked a lot of our asses. Okay, because we didn't do that. Um, Not pointing any fingers, but especially right out of boot when they're all freaking jacked up on testosterone, army food, and pent up rage, etc. And you know, you call them out, they might kick the shit out of you. Okay, and that took them what, 9 months. So you could tell your magic user character, hey, you want to take a break, you could, train to be a little bit better with the sword or the staff or whatever. And it breaks some of the rules, but it doesn't break the game. Okay, because there are rules where people can cross train and become dual class things in the way of humans. Non-humans, you just start out with you really want that. Okay, I'm making up a fighter, cleric, magic user, thief because I got all 17s and fuck you DM. Fine, you're gonna go up 25% faster than everybody else. But if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. You're starting out with 4 hit points because you got shitty averages or whatever, maybe 6 hit points and you get +2, whatever. Okay, fine. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. If you want to, modify your game so that people can go to fighter school, you can do it. You can make it work, but it will take a little bit away from the fighter. But at the same time, if everybody's on board, then who cares, right? I have a thief and a saw AS and SH. His dex is 14, intelligence is 12. Love playing the character like that myself. Cool. 14 dex is good. It's better than good. It's not great, but or it may be great. It's not fantastic. Somewhere along the lines. 18 is you know amazing. So cool. My point wasn't enjoying playing what I rolled. I meant what you're just describing, building the character, the concept. Yeah, sometimes it just comes to you. It's like I got it. The fighter I'm playing in Bubba's game, uh, knowing what kind of game he was going to run and knowing what it was going to be like, I did the best I could with an 11 strength and then a 7 intelligence. Or fantasy role playing is a great game. 1E or 2E. S and W was fine until Finch got all pandery. Just if Finch is the guy I'm thinking, I have a personal thing uh, with him and a friend of mine, but I don't know that it was him. I got to double check, but he could be the guy I'm thinking of, and if that's the case, he's a scumbag. He could be a wonderful guy. I don't know. I have to double check every time I hear that name, though. Here's my homebrew. Fighters get the best Thaco, and everyone else is cleric, Thaco, or atrophied to the other two tiers if they're sedentary nerds too busy learning magic or thieving skills. Well, gotta realize that according to Gygax, right in the like the AD&D, etc., the cleric was also the same fighting style as the druid and the monk. The monk is a bad motherfucker. It's just that the numbers. Here's the problem with all of that. Okay, the math is based on you must be able to get better at all times. You can't top out. You have to be able to get better until you get to the extremest of levels there are. 15th or 18th or whatever's in the book, right? So he had to divvy it up, incrementally from zero in the fighter category to whatever is at the other end. And that's the best. And everything has to be less than that incrementally to make it part of the mechanic of going up levels. Now, that's entirely gamey and completely unrealistic because many people might go up in levels but do not go up in levels in fighting ability. They've topped out. They're done. They're at their height, and that height may be, early on in their career. They just got to live with it, even though it's awesome. If you've ever met any martial artists in their 30s and 40s, they're not going to get a whole lot better. As a matter of fact, at a certain point after 39, they're fighting against age and the laws of physics and their own body's degradation. So that they can go up levels and a whole lot of other things, but swinging and kicking, it's going to get harder for them. Okay, But okay, so maybe they can hit a thaco, with a 9. Okay, that's pretty good. Um, Others, maybe they only need a 7 or a 5. But it shouldn't always just keep going on forever and ever and ever, going up regardless of your age. The rules for age are not significant enough to really show what really happens to people when they get into the Middle Ages, their Middle Ages. So you have to understand that, and maybe work with that. Oh, but in vintage games, you can't say race anymore. I'm going to say whatever fucking words I want, and there ain't nobody on the planet that's going to tell me otherwise. If I want to drop an N bomb, which I don't, but not because of any of the modern reasons, I was just raised better than that. Um, I'll say whatever I want, and if you don't like it, you can tell me, or you can leave. Maybe we can have a discussion why I use the language I do. As most of you know, it's to either make a point or to make a joke. And if you can't figure out which one it is, well, we can also have that discussion. But I'm more than likely to tell you that, pound sand. Stephen, I just preferred called shots and mismatched armor per location, so made some. Nothing wrong with that either. Um, because I've always had this issue. Like, your fighter, he starts out with chainmail, right? Let's say he does, right? And then I get, some money, right? And I've got chainmail, but I want plate mail. Well, plate mail is made out of chainmail. Chainmail is the under part of plate mail, right? You guys know that, right? So why do I got to pay top dollar for my suit of plate mail? Can't I just go, here's my chainmail, it fits me, add a plate mail covering to it, and at the very least, don't make me pay for the chainmail price of the plate mail, right? That's how it should literally work, and how in those days it wouldn't be like you walk into the blacksmithy armor or whatever. It's like, I want a suit of plate mail. Well, here you go. Here's a suit of plate mail. It's 400 gold. Well, I don't need the chainmail. Oh, that's too bad. He could just take that chainmail suit out, put it on the rack, and sell it for the 75 gold that it's worth, and charge you the remainder for the plate mail because you've already got the chainmail. As a matter of fact, probably save him some time because he would have to fit it to you. He would have to take that full suit and trim it down and do the things, if you know anything about armor, to make it fit you. He's not going to just sell it to you off the rack. Okay, that was part of the services and the job back then. But every DM I know cannot do the math or won't give you the discount for a goddamn thing because uh, their bad DMs taught them poorly back in the day, and they're going to keep those bad habits uh, as part of their style uh, because reasons. It literally, I made the argument why I should never pay full price for plate mail if I've got a suited chain mail. What's your counter argument? Because I said so. I'm out. That's we're not here for that. We're here to talk, and if we can't have a discussion and a debate about not every little thing, but about something as significant as that, in the early days, getting your first suit of plate mail is a big fucking deal. I mean, that makes such a massive difference when you go into the next fight and you're armed with plate mail, and those guys come at you with it doesn't really matter because nobody uses armor versus weapon rules, but they come at you and you know they miss, or what they should hit you and it should not hurt, but that's a whole other topic. If they don't hurt you because you're wearing plate mail, you just became a completely upgraded, you know, addition to the party, and every fighter should strive for that because the difference. What is it? A 4 goes to a 2. Chain and shield is 4. Plate mail shield is 2. It might not seem, it's only 10% difference, which is what I would say, but it really does make a big difference in the low levels when they're already needing, a 16 or better to hit you for the first level monsters. Now they need an 18. You just stand in that doorway and just freaking, let them swing while your friends are taking arrow shots and you're doing your job. It's a whole different thing. It's just you could feel the upgrade. Thanks, Janet. Hope you're having a great day and looking forward to a great week. Left turn, Clyde. I say that all the time, uh, and I don't think I ever watched the movie, but I when we're in the grocery store, and my boy and I are walking down the aisles, I'm like, left turn, Clyde. He's like, what? Just turn left. It's like, what do you call me, Clyde? It's a long story. To me, I giggle inside because I know, but trying to explain it without saying, sit down and watch this movie from the 70s. Uh, yeah, I know uh, it's not that, Matt. Uh, I think it was him, but I don't know if it was him. But there's this line of miniatures called Galactic 25 by Heritage. And somebody wanted to reproduce them with 3D printers and whatnot in 28 millimeter scale, except the person didn't own the rights to the miniatures. They just wanted to do it. And my brain tells me that it was him. And he didn't have permission and he got shut down because he didn't have permission. He just thought he was going to get away with it, whoever that guy was. If it wasn't him, whoever tried doing that, you're an asshat. And all you had to do was make a fucking phone call or an email. But no, you thought you'd scam tens of thousands of dollars out of someone you knew damn well had the rights to those minis. And the reason I'm, uppity about it is I love Galactic 25 miniatures and the game and the Galactic 3 rules. I did some work to help them out here and there, and it was just a big part of my childhood. And to see somebody try to like abscond with it without going through the things, because had they just done the right thing and they had to split the money with the guy, I'd be painting 28 millimeter Galactic 25 miniatures, and I'd have a freaking shit ton of octopoids on my table right now, but I don't because it didn't happen. Nerdy, what's happening? Are we playing this week or is that next week? Gregor McConnell got level drained. Unless movies and TV have lied to us our whole lives, everyone knows the older a martial arts gets, the more powerful he gets. The older you get, the less powerful you get when it comes to physical. Mentally, you keep going, you keep learning and getting wiser until you don't, until you become a potato. And then there's somebody else's problem, and they got to change your diaper. And I look forward to that. I know when I can barely freaking utter a couple of words, Jackie's changing my adult depends. I'm gonna giggle my ass off inside. He won't know, so I'll just be going, but it'll be funny. Remember old timers, gamers telling me back in the day they would spend all their money on plate mail and a dagger, then kill a goblin and take their sword or bigger weapon. Yeah, yeah, you do, and you do, and I'll be there. Just make sure somebody sends me a freaking message so I'm not late because I'm always late on Thursdays, and I'm trying to not do that. But uh, having an alternate game, I really, it really kind of throws me off. I wish it was every week, Nerdy. That would be fun, and uh, but I'm trying to get a Wednesday game, and uh, so having a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday game, not really what I'm trying to accomplish. Did you ever offer special exotic fiction hide armor like dragon scale armor, elfin chain armor, Sasquatch wool armor is something worth? No, it's not. I can't believe you made me read that. Yes, I've done some of those things, not the last item on the list because that's disgusting. You've been watching too much Venture Brothers, but good for you for watching too much Venture Brothers. But I've done the Elven Chain. I just uh, had a thing last night where I was calculating Elven Chain armor for an NPC, their armor class. But I've done the dragon stuff, and To be honest, I don't like the whole you can't hurt the thing. You got to just use blunt weapons to subdue the dragon, to kill it, and then cut it up. That's fucking stupid. You kill the dragon however you have to kill the dragon, and if it's an ancient red dragon, let's just say, right, because that's usually what it always is, right, and you kill his ass and you skin him because you used a sword over here and then you use a magic dagger over here to cut off this haunch, section of scale to turn it into armor, should have nothing to do with what the scales are made out of. What that would be like saying you shot the deer, you can't use the freaking the hide to make a pair of pants or a jacket because you shot the deer. Can you tell me you know absolutely nothing about anything? Um, um, Heritage is not the same thing. Heritage is not even close. We're talking about biology, okay? Because that's what it is. And some folks not wanting to admit that there are differences uh, biologically between different things, different species, different races, different creatures. And that is no better than saying a man can become a woman and a woman can become a man. That can't happen. Even magically, unless you erase everybody's memory and use an alter reality spell, you didn't change anything except cosmetically. An elf is an elf. An elf is not a human. While they can, in some worlds, crossbreed, um, they're not the same thing. They're similar, but they're not identical. It's like otherwise there is no difference, and all humans are elves and elves are humans. That's definitely not the case. We know that there's a very strong set of differences, and to use the word heritage uh, is just wrong. Heritage is not that. It's not heritage is not biology whatsoever. It's history, right? Um, and from a guy who supposedly is well learned and well read and maybe even well spoken. Uh, what are you doing? Whose ass are you kissing? Because it kind of sounds like you're kissing a certain group of people's ass, and they've had enough of that. I think it's time to kiss somebody else's ass if you're going to be kissing ass. I actually recommend against kissing ass because, well, that's just there's other words I'm inclined to use about that behavior, but I'm not gonna because this is supposed to be ostensibly a family show. Everyone knows elves are Vulcans. I thought they were Romulan, but okay, point taken. Um, but even then, I don't remember seeing like a whole lot of blonde elves. What's her name from Enterprise was my favorite, but just saying, it was close. But if that's the case, and we just happen to see all the, the Chinese Vulcans, that's all we got in the '60s and '70s, and now they're showing us, the California Vulcans. That's cool, you know, uh, because I've got questions. Are they going to show us the Latina Vulcans at some point? And you can finish the sentence with, in your own leisure, because if we were to go and look at the mythology of other places that seem to need so much help uh, holding their own in fantasy literature, I'm pretty sure they got a whole bunch of creatures and things in their own mythology that they will pretty much insist are not white. And if we started making them white, they'd probably lose their shit. And maybe we ought to so they could understand what it feels like to have characters like Nick Fury suddenly not look like Nick Fury. The Nick Fury, which was Reed Richards in disguise, was just an eye patch. Growing up all my lifetime, 50 years, Nick Fury was Reed Richards with an eye patch and looked a certain way. And to see that scumbag take the part, knowing full well that they're just doing it to piss off guys like me, uh, fuck you. And if I ever met him, I would punch him in the chin, nose, somewhere in the face. Just saying. Uh, uh, yeah, well, they're already like that. That's the joke, Chris. Uh, or at least that's what's come to be the joke. I'm pretty sure that when Tolkien was describing his version, which is like the most popular version, it seems, he wasn't specifically thinking California. He was thinking, Sweden, Norway, things like that, right? As he should. Um, and they became something completely different, or other things, emulated them or became, kind of similar, coincidentally. Uh, that Cold Iron. The last free version of Swords and Wizardry is 2012, and I'm not sure if it's still available on drive through. The 2024 version is $6, and I'm like 60. Uh, and the likelihood that I'm going to bump into him. I mean, I ran, I fist bumped Edward James almost because he's a pussy. Couldn't shake hands. Probably would have crushed his poor little freaking fingers. Um, what a douche, just absolute tool. Um, and it's a shame too because I really liked a lot of things he did, but meeting him, it's like, dude, you are coming across as like a complete has been, nobody, loser. Just why'd you even show up if you're not going to dress for the occasion? Kid you not, he's a red carpet in a hoodie. Okay, I couldn't dress my best because I was wearing my best, or I should say, and it wasn't anything to be write home about. But at least I put on a button down pair of slacks, nice shoes. He's there in sneakers and a hoodie on the red carpet. Seriously, and the worst part, it was to kind of encourage and promote young middle school filmmakers, wannabe filmmakers. Dude, show up, dress to impress. Let these kids know you're somebody and that they could be somebody too. Not like you're a half-assed has-been loser who just put on whatever was lying on the floor and showed up. Yes, as they should be. See, here's the thing. Uh, you ever see the 1990s made-for-TV Nick Fury movie? Yes, I did. Yes, it looked like him. That was the best part. He looked like, they should look like the comic book characters the way they were drawn. You claim to like the character. You claim to be inspired enough to want to put that character in your movie, but only to a certain point. You want to steal the best parts and reimagine the thing to fit your narrative that wasn't yours. Someone else created it. I hope you know they realize what kind of a disservice they did and what kind of an insult they dropped on something they profess to appreciate, enjoy, or maybe even love. But they loved it so much they had to change it, essentially completely, except for the couple of little things that they kept. Why didn't you just give him a new name? That would have been cooler, right? Think about it. If they gave instead of using Nick Fury, they just like took the mold, right? But threw Samuel L. Jackson with a new name and just said he's the leader of Shield. We'd all knew what they were talking about. We'd all go, oh, well, it's been a while. Nick Fury probably passed away or retired, and they got this new guy who's a badass. But nope, they wanted to change it to fit check a certain box that didn't need checking. If they just had any creativity whatsoever, because they clearly have zero creativity whatsoever. They can't actually come up with something brand new. They got to steal something. Well, that makes you, a thief, a crook, a criminal, and lazy, and no talent, hack, who couldn't freaking, write their way out of a paper bag without, stealing somebody else's greater idea than they'll ever have. It's really sad. It's really, really sad. And for them, uh, I just, nothing but contempt. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, but they could just throw a junior there. But you wouldn't do that because somebody's going to get offended you calling him junior when that's supposed to be like a kind of like a compliment. If you're Nick Fury Jr., James Bond Jr., that means you are royalty in a way. You should be digging that shit. You got a free ride, buddy. You say you're James Bond Jr., every head turns in that establishment, right? Like, oh, you're his son. Wow. Bet you have some stories to tell. But no, we can't do that because we can't respect our elders in any way, shape, or form. Because, you know, 16-year-olds should be making decisions and voting for us. They do call him Junior in the comics. That's cool. And I can see how you could even turn that into something funny. Don't call me Junior, you know, right? That would be, pushing it. But you could, get that kind of an edgy humor. I could picture, Wolverine calling him Junior and Nick getting all freaking pissed off. But at the same time, what do you do with Wolverine? You're really going to take a swing at Wolverine? You're going to end up a pincushion if you're lucky. I always thought I'd never live to meet some who actually gives a flying fuck about what celebrities wear at a fucking Hollywood weird, retarded award ceremony. I truly should wear. They really should. Here's the thing: my boy was going there to be awarded, and the big name on the thing was that, and he got all dressed up, and he was all looking forward to it. And he still had a great time, but he didn't understand the disrespect that he had, not bothering him because like everybody else was dressed to the nines. I met some other celebrities, got to shake hands and talk, and uh, and everybody was really proud of us for our kids having won these awards, etc. But the big guy at the top of the list, right? You know, just threw on whatever was in the top drawer and just said, "Fuck it, I'm me." You know, can you imagine how much different it would have been had he showed up, suit and tie? Maybe an Armani, something. Something off his own personal rack, not off the rack, and showed up and just used that charm and everything. Instead, he's like, you couldn't even tell who he was because he had the hoodie on and a freaking mask because of COVID. I'm like, you fucking pussy. Nobody else here is wearing a mask. Yeah, you're older than dirt. If COVID gets you, um, it's your time to go. Be a man about it. Don't be a pussy. Hide behind a freaking feminine napkin, right? For James Bond, you might accidentally become Eskimo brothers with your. I actually read a book. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm going to tell this story. I read this book. I want to say it was like it was along the lines of the Destroyer books, the Remo Williams books, something like that. Back in the day, I was in. I forget where I was. Um, it might have been when I was working with the Rangers, and they had like a books somewhere, and I picked up this book, and it was insanely uh, graphic about this man who, in order to inherit his father's inheritance, he had to go across the planet boinking all the people that he boinked when he was younger. And each one was like a different, like, kung fu challenge, right? They all had different qualities. Um, and like one of the last ones, one of the upper tier, was this. like this Marine sergeant or something, somebody in the military, and in order to get his way into her, uh, he did under the premise of teaching her a new um, technique that would disable a man should he try to have his way with a female enlistee or what have you. Against their will, there was this new technique that would literally like hurt him down there if they applied the right pressure type of thing. It was just like, oh my god, it was funny as hell. But mind you, I was 40 years younger, and now thinking about it, I'm like, yeah. Well, he did become Eskimo brothers with his dad. His dad was dead, but and he did inherit the vast fortune by going across the planet and doing all the things. And hey, I hear Oscar Idol awards are. Um, I know quite a few people who literally should take your advice, but I'm not going to name any names because I'm sure half of them have already tried. Marvel ended up having Fury Sr. take the place of the Watcher. You're kidding me. Oh my god. That is dumb. That is just dumb. The Watchers are not humans. They're not Earthlings. They're not mortal. They're not any of the things that Nick Fury is. A Watcher literally should be able to outdo anything Nick Fury could ever imagine doing. Whatever he could think of, they would be like a million steps ahead of him. Whether it be combat, shooting, tactics, spying. I mean, they're just they really just will hire anybody, won't they? Just as long as you check the boxes, right? Wow, that's really lame. That is so lame. That's like the lamest thing I've heard all month. But it's only like the fourth or fifth, so we'll throw in July too. It's the dumbest thing I've heard in 34 days. How's that? Wow. It's like the tell me you don't know without telling me you don't know, because they clearly don't know. Wow, folks. I don't know much about Ed Jr. Edward J. Olmos, but Stand and Deliver was an inspiring movie, and I seriously doubt the average ghetto cholo from East LA cared what he wore for that award. It's I'm pretty certain if you look it up, he probably wore a suit and tie. Pretty certain. That was back when things are things were different, and wearing a suit and tie wasn't like somehow racist. You know, the Watcher's more powerful, but he swore to never interfere, so he won't do anything about it. Oh, I'm totally aware of that. Yes, it is effing GAY. Um, but if on a different playing field in a holodeck somewhere or whatever, Nick Fury and the Watchers square off, the Watcher's just gonna mop the room. Any Watcher, the first lowest level Watcher you have, they're they're potentially billions of years old watching and learning, right? Because if they're watching, they're also storing that information, right? So they've seen every move in the book. If I remember correctly, the government sent Fury to kill the Watcher because he knew government secrets. So, and all Fury assassinated was probably an illusion, or a robot, or a biological construct. You're not taking out the Watchers. That just goes against the entire premise of having the Watchers. It's just you see, you kill one Watcher, like they don't talk, like they don't communicate with one another. It's like, come on. They probably go and they just transferred 100 years worth of freaking watching information. Probably trade them like freaking baseball cards. It's really dumb, really dumb, and people wonder why I don't buy anything but the old comic books. The omnibuses. I can't see a reason to pick up that stuff because true fans, true historians in the future, people who appreciate, they're gonna like 100 years from now, if this stuff still exists and they're reading, the comic books and doing the lore and doing the history and trying to learn about the stuff, they're going to get to this period and they're going to go, what the hell happened? They're going to lose, they're just going to like, it's going to be so glaring that all of a sudden, from this point to whatever point, if there's any point after this, um, what happened and when did they just lose all rationality, common sense, basic understanding of the basic laws of physics and reality, and just lose their ever loving minds? Everything just suddenly changed. Yeah, it's dumb, and they wonder why nobody buys American comics anymore. Well, they do, but they're clearly trying to, uh, change. But here's the thing: before I go. Right now, they're like D&D and Marvel. All these big companies are like, yeah, we kind of screwed up and we lost a lot of money. And the bad guys amongst them are going like, no, everything's going according to plan, except for you guys trying to change our minds and go back to the way things were. Patriarchy, supremacy, racism, whatever. Shut the fuck up. It's all about making money, you fucking retards. Make enough money, you don't care about that other crap. And you can fix that stuff in a better, more tangible way that doesn't feel shoehorned, forced, unnatural, and you can do it the right way, you know, the way it was back before Obama. When we all got along and everybody was cool with one another and everything was getting better. And then yeah, there are a ton of indie American comic creators. What's up, George? How you doing? Um, we could have just kept on going, getting better, but they needed to freaking crash everything into the freaking below sea level for whatever reason. I just fear that in a couple of years, if things change and go back to the way they were, they're going to just change in a more malicious way with a sense of vengeance to get back at the people who tried to destroy their woke agenda, and then we'll have real problems. But that's what I've got for you today, guys. George, good seeing you. Good hanging out with you. You're looking good, man. Uh, I hope you're feeling good, and I hope you're ready for some more fun. August is here. I believe it's the OGGM's birthday today, tomorrow, or the next day. So go wish him a happy birthday. Give him a sub. Say hey to him. He's really a fun guy to hang out with from time to time. Other times, I'm kidding, buddy. I'm kidding. He's very, very funny. And everybody else out there, have a great day. Love you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel. Until then, folks,